Hello there and welcome. Welcome to this quiet place, this softly lit corner of the night where time slows down and the world outside your window grows hushed and small. I'm so glad you found your way here. Maybe the day behind you was long. Maybe it was full of noise, full of meetings and messages and the steady hum of things that needed your attention. Or maybe it was a gentle day, and you simply want a soft companion to walk you to the edge of sleep. Either way, tonight's journey is for you, and there is nothing you need to do now except settle in and let your shoulders drop, just a little, with the very next breath. Tonight, we're going to drift together through the most relaxing facts about music and sound. We're going to wander through the soft architecture of melody, through the long history of human song, through the strange and beautiful ways our ears turn invisible vibrations into meaning. We're going to think about lullabies and wails and the quiet hum of distant stars. We're going to consider the way a single note can carry a feeling across a room, across a century, across an ocean. And the entire time you're invited to simply listen, simply breathe, and simply rest. Before we begin, take a moment to make yourself comfortable. Adjust your pillow if it needs adjusting. Pull the blanket a little closer if the room feels cool. Let your jaw soften. Let your tongue rest gently behind your lower teeth. Notice the small places in your body that may still be holding the day, the shoulders, the brow, the small muscles around your eyes, and invite them without pressure to release. There is no rush. There is nothing to figure out. There is nothing here that requires you to remember anything in the morning. You can simply listen and rest. If you find yourself enjoying these slow, sleepy explorations, you're warmly invited to subscribe, to tap the gentle little bell, and to leave a soft like before you drift away. It helps these quiet videos find other quiet listeners, other people who, like you, prefer falling asleep to wonder rather than to counting. But please only do it if it feels easy. There is no urgency. The night is long and the only real task tonight is rest. Now let yourself imagine for just a moment that sound is a kind of weather. It moves through the air the way wind moves through tall grass, the way rain settles on a tin roof, the way a distant bell can ripple across a valley at dusk. Music, then, is weather we have learned to shape. We gather it from strings, from breath, from the careful striking of small surfaces, from the human voice, which is perhaps the oldest instrument of all. And from these tiny gestures we build something enormous, something that can lift a person, soothe a person, gather a community around a single shared feeling. Tonight we are going to wander through that weather. We are going to sit beside ancient flutes carved from bird bones. We will pass slowly through the cathedrals where chants were once sung in candlelight, where the stones themselves seem to remember the melodies. We will listen to the inner ear, that tiny seashell of a thing nestled inside your skull, and consider the small, miraculous way it turns trembling air into song. We will think about how a baby in the womb already knows the rhythm of a mother's heartbeat, and how, perhaps, every lullaby ever sung is a soft echo of that very first song. There may be facts here you have heard before and facts that are entirely new. It does not matter. You are not being tested. You are not being asked to learn. Some words may slip past you soft and unnoticed like leaves drifting on water, and that is exactly fine. Other words may settle in for a moment and offer you a small bloom of wonder before you drift on. Both ways of listening are welcome here. Let your breathing find its own slow rhythm. In gently, out gently. There is no need to control it. Your body knows how to breathe. Your body knows how to rest. Your only task tonight is to allow. We will move through these facts the way a river moves through a quiet field, without rushing, without bothering anyone, simply going where the land allows. After every dozen or so quiet wonders, we will pause for a soft interlude, a small clearing in the forest of thoughts, where we can take a slower breath together before walking on. And by the end, when the last fact has been gently set down like a stone at the edge of a pond, we will return to silence and to sleep, and to the soft dark that is waiting patiently for you. So if you have not already, dim the lights. Close your eyes if they want to be closed, or let them grow heavy in their own time. Tonight is not a night for effort. It is a night for drifting. It is a night for being held by sound and stories. You're doing great. You really are. Just being here, choosing rest, choosing softness, is its own kind of small victory. Let that be enough for now. And with that, let us begin. The first thing to know, as we step softly into this world of music and sound, is that sound itself is not really a thing you can hold. It is a movement, a gentle disturbance in the air, a wave that begins when something trembles. A guitar string trembles, the air around it trembles in sympathy, and that trembling travels outward in slow, invisible ripples until it reaches your ear. So when you listen to music, in a sense, you are not hearing the instrument at all. You are hearing the air remembering the instrument. You are hearing space itself carry a small story to you. There is something quietly beautiful in that, in knowing that every song you have ever loved arrived to you on the back of moving air, like a leaf carried by a friendly breeze. And tonight, even the soft hush of your room, the small creaks of the walls, the distant sigh of the wind outside, these too are sound, gently brushing against the curve of your ear, asking nothing of you. Now imagine drifting back through time, the very first instruments. Long before electricity, long before written music, long before stages and speakers, our ancestors carved tiny flutes from the hollow bones of birds and the bones of small animals. Some of these flutes are tens of thousands of years old, older than cities, older than farms, older than nearly anything we have built. And yet when archaeologists gently lift them from the soil, they still play. A puff of breath, and out comes a thin, clear note, traveling across the gap of those countless years. It is as if some ancient evening around a small fire, someone set the flute down and meant to come back for it, and we have only just now found it. The melody they once played is long gone, but the instrument is still ready. Imagine that, an old breath waiting patiently for a new one. Consider next the ear itself, the small soft architecture you carry on either side of your head. Inside each ear, deep within the bone, there is a tiny coiled chamber called the cochlea, shaped almost exactly like a snail's shell. It is filled with fluid and lined with thousands of microscopic hairs, each one tuned to a slightly different frequency. When sound waves enter, the fluid trembles, the tiny hairs sway, and each hair sends its own quiet message to the brain. It is a kind of inner orchestra where every hair is a single musician, and together they perform whatever the world is playing. Right now, even as you rest, this orchestra is gently active. It is hearing the soft sound of these words, the hush of your breath, the small distant noises of the night, and it is making sense of them all without asking you to do anything. Your body is already so wise, you can simply rest. There's a thought, soft and old, that music may have come before language. Some researchers suspect that long before our ancestors had words for things, they may have hummed and chanted and clicked and sung. A mother might have crooned a wordless tune to a baby. A group of hunters might have moved together in rhythm, calling and answering across the trees. In this gentle theory, language is the younger sibling of song. Words may have grown out of melody the way a vine grows out of warm soil. And maybe that is why music can still reach places inside us that words cannot. Maybe that is why a tune you cannot name can bring tears to your eyes, or settle a restless mind, or carry a feeling across 1,000 years, and lay it gently in your lap. Drift now to the strange and lovely fact that nearly every culture in the world, from the snowy north to the warm islands of the south, has its own lullabies. They are different in language, different in melody, different in instruments, and yet when you slow them down, they share a quiet family resemblance. They tend to be soft, repetitive, and gentle. They tend to use simple intervals that the body recognizes as safe. Researchers have played lullabies from one culture to babies from another, and the babies often calm anyway, as if part of them already understood. There seems to be, woven into the human family, a shared agreement that the song which says, "Rest now, you are safe," should sound a certain way. Tonight, in a sense, this whole video is a lullaby for you, in a slightly longer form with stories instead of repeated words. You are safe. You can rest. And finally, for this first quiet handful, consider the heartbeat. From the moment you began, long before you opened your eyes to any light at all, you were already swaying inside the gentle drumbeat of your mother's heart. That steady thump, thump was your earliest music, your first metronome, the original rhythm section of your entire life. Some scientists believe this is one reason humans love rhythm so deeply, why we tap our feet without thinking, why a steady beat can calm a fussy infant and soothe a tired adult. Rhythm reminds us, on a level beneath thought, of being held. So if your own heart is gently beating now beneath your ribs, you might let yourself notice it. Not to count, not to study it, just to let it be there, the oldest song you know, still playing softly, still keeping you company. Let your breath settle a little deeper, and drift now toward the curious truth that music is, in many ways, a kind of mathematics that the heart can feel. A musical note is simply a frequency, a number of vibrations per second, but when two notes are played together, our ears notice the relationship between those numbers. Notes whose frequencies fit into simple ratios tend to sound pleasant and consonant to us, while more complex ratios can sound tense or unresolved. The ancient thinkers who first noticed this were quietly amazed. They felt as if they had stumbled onto a hidden door between numbers and beauty, between arithmetic and joy. And in a sense, every time you hum a tune, you are doing math with your throat, painting fractions in the air, and you do not need to know a single equation to do it perfectly. Drift gently now to the great resonant rooms of human history, the cathedrals and temples and stone halls built long ago. Their builders may not have used the word acoustics, but they understood it in their bones. They shaped ceilings to lift sound, curved walls to gather it, and placed choirs in spots where a single voice could swell into something that seemed to fill the sky. Inside such places, a chant could linger in the air for several seconds after the singer had stopped, as if the stone itself were quietly humming back. Some old songs were even composed to take advantage of these long echoes, with each new note layered on top of the previous one's slow fading tail. You can almost picture it, the candlelight, the cool air, a few quiet figures in robes, and the building itself seeming to sing along. Now imagine, far above us, the silent music of the planets. In space, in the truest sense, there is no sound, because sound needs something to travel through, and most of space is too empty to carry it. And yet, spacecraft have recorded the strange electromagnetic signals around Jupiter, around Saturn, around our own sun, and when those signals are translated into audible frequencies, they sound oddly musical. There are eerie whistles and slow groans, deep humming tones and soft crackles, like distant choirs singing in a language no one taught them. We do not really hear the planets, of course. We hear our instruments translating their invisible weather. But still, there is something tender about it, that humans have stretched their senses out into the dark and asked the cosmos, in their own quiet way, to please sing for us. Closer to home, listen for a moment to the song of whales. Deep beneath the surface of the ocean, the great whales call to one another in slow, low, looping melodies that can last for many minutes. Some whale songs change a little each year, like a tune slowly evolving, and entire populations of whales seem to gradually adopt the new version. In the deep cold of the open sea, sound travels far, sometimes for hundreds of miles, so a single whale's song may be heard by other whales who are nowhere near, simply drifting through their own quiet lives. There is something deeply soothing in that, in the idea that even in the vastness of the ocean, no whale truly sings alone. There is always someone, somewhere listening, Settle even further now and consider the strange softness of a very quiet room. There exist specially built chambers, lined with thick foam wedges and floating floors, that are so carefully designed to absorb sound that almost no echo can survive in them. People who step into such rooms often describe the experience as overwhelming at first, because in the absence of outside sound, they begin to hear themselves. They hear their own heartbeat, the soft whoosh of blood in their ears, the small clicks of muscles in their joints. It turns out that perfect silence is almost never silent, because we ourselves are always playing some quiet music inside. Tonight, in your own room, even when things seem still, your body is murmuring along, gently, the way a small stream murmurs under a bridge. Finally, for this set, drift toward the thought that birdsong is one of the oldest soundtracks of the planet. Long before any human ever picked up an instrument, the dawns of the world were already filled with the calls of birds. Different species sing for different reasons: to claim a territory, to find a mate, to keep in touch with a flock, to warn of danger. But altogether, their music has been part of every sunrise on Earth for a very, very long time. Some scientists think early humans may have even copied bird calls when they first began to whistle and sing. And so, in a quiet, distant way, every melody you have ever loved may carry, somewhere far back in its family tree, the voice of a small bird greeting the morning. Let that thought rest gently in your mind, like a feather drifting onto still water. Drift now toward the soft idea that a single note, played alone, can already tell a kind of story. When a bow draws across a violin string, the note that emerges is not just one pure tone, but a rich layering of overtones, the main pitch with a quiet halo of higher, fainter pitches woven around it. These overtones are what make a violin sound different from a flute, even when both play the same note. They are like the fingerprint of an instrument, the small, unique pattern by which we recognize it. Your own voice is the same. When you speak, when you hum, when you sing in the shower, you are sending a fingerprint of overtones into the world, and people who love you can recognize you in a single syllable from across a room, even with their eyes closed. Isn't that a quietly beautiful thing? You have a sound that is only yours. Let your thoughts drift gently to the world of pianos, those great wooden creatures that sit so patiently in living rooms and concert halls. A piano has many strings stretched tight inside its body, and when you press a key, a small felt hammer leaps up and strikes the strings, and they begin to sing. Inside even an ordinary upright piano, there can be over 200 strings, all under tremendous tension, all balanced to ring in just the right relationships to one another. Tuning a piano is delicate work, slow and patient, almost like meditating. A good tuner listens not just with the ear but with the whole body, feeling for that point where the strings settle into harmony with each other. And when it is done well, the piano almost seems to thank you, releasing notes that bloom in the air like soft flowers. Now wander with me into the gentle world of children's music. Babies, even very small babies, often turn their heads towards singing. They quiet when sung to. They breathe more steadily. Their tiny hearts sometimes slow into a calmer rhythm. Researchers studying infants have noticed that singing seems to soothe them more reliably than even speaking, and that mothers and fathers around the world tend to lift the pitch of their voices slightly when they talk to babies, almost as if speaking in a small song. Perhaps singing is one of the first promises we ever receive, a wordless reassurance that someone is here, someone is paying attention, someone is keeping watch. Tonight, in a way, the slow rhythm of these words is offering you a similar promise. You are not alone in the dark. There's a quiet voice here with you. Drift onward to the curious phenomenon of the earworm, that little snippet of melody that decides to live in your head for a while. Almost everyone has experienced this. A jingle from a commercial, a chorus from a song you heard at the store, a tune from a film you saw years ago, suddenly looping in the quiet corners of your mind. Researchers have offered many gentle theories. Earworms tend to be simple, repetitive, and slightly unfinished, the brain's way of trying to complete an unresolved pattern. Curiously, one of the soft cures sometimes suggested is to listen to the entire song from beginning to end, allowing the pattern to fully resolve. Tonight, though, if any tune begins to wander through your mind as you rest, you do not need to chase it away. Let it pass through like a bird crossing the sky and continue on into stillness. Picture now very softly the long, tall pipes of an old church organ. Some of these pipes are taller than people, taller than two people stacked together. The deepest, longest pipes produce notes so low that you do not so much hear them as feel them. They make the air tremble, the floor tremble, the bench beneath you tremble. Some great organs have notes that are at the very edge of human hearing, almost more sensation than sound, like a soft hand resting on your chest. Listening to such an instrument in a quiet cathedral can feel like being inside a kind of weather, gentle thunder rolling through stone. And yet, even those huge, rumbling notes are made of the same simple thing, vibrating air, the same as your own breath as it slowly moves in and out in this cozy moment. Finally, let your mind rest on the soft fact that music can change the way we move through time. When a song we love comes on, minutes can slip by unnoticed. When we are bored, time can drag, but a few favorite songs can make a long drive feel short, a slow afternoon feel light, a difficult task feel manageable. Some researchers think music helps the brain organize time into pleasant shapes, like grouping moments into verses and choruses. Time, in a way, becomes friendlier when there is melody in it. And maybe that is part of why bedtime audio like this can feel so soothing, because it gives the night a soft shape, a slow rhythm to drift along, until time itself dissolves into sleep, and you wake later in the morning surprised by how gently the hours have passed. Let's pause here for just a moment. There is no rush at all. You have been such a lovely listener, drifting along with these soft thoughts, allowing your body to settle deeper into the bed beneath you. Take a slow breath in through your nose if that feels easy, and let it out gently through your lips like a whisper into the dark. And again, slowly in and slowly out. Notice how the small weight of your head is held by the pillow, how the soft fabric of your blanket warms the space around you, how the quiet of the room is its own kind of music, made of small hums and faint sighs from the world outside. There is nothing you need to remember from the things we have wandered through so far. The facts are not a test. They are simply soft companions, here to keep you gentle company on the way to sleep. If your thoughts begin to drift, that is exactly right. If your mind wanders to something else for a while, that is welcome. You can return whenever you like. The story will still be here, moving softly along, waiting patiently for you to rejoin it. You're doing so well. Just by being here, just by allowing yourself this small kindness of rest, you are giving your body and mind something they need. The night does not require anything from you. The world can wait. Right now, your only task is to be here, breathing, listening, drifting, while we continue our quiet journey through the world of music and sound. Drift back into our slow exploration with the gentle thought that human bodies are built to make music. The human voice is, in many ways, a small wind instrument tucked inside the throat. As you breathe out, air passes through the vocal folds, two delicate ribbons of tissue that vibrate against one another, and the shape of your mouth and tongue and lips sculpts those vibrations into sound. We carry our instrument with us everywhere, all the time. We can use it to whisper, to laugh, to sing in the shower, to hum to ourselves while we cook. Even crying is a kind of song, a song of the heart that does not have words yet. Tonight your voice is resting, soft and quiet, and that rest is a gift to it, a small kindness for all the words it has carried during the day. Now consider slowly that some sounds are too low for us to hear, and others are too high. Below about 20 vibrations per second, sound becomes more of a feeling than a tone, a low thrum we sense in the chest. Above about 20,000 vibrations per second, sound passes beyond our range entirely. Other animals live in different bands of this music. Dogs hear higher pitches than we do, which is why a special whistle can call them across a field while we hear nothing at all. Bats and dolphins navigate the world using echoes far above our range, sending out tiny pulses of sound and listening for the world to whisper back. Elephants, on the other hand, can communicate using rumbles so deep that other elephants miles away can sense them through the ground. The world is full of music we do not hear, soft conversations beneath our notice, and yet they are all happening all the time. Let your thoughts drift toward the long history of recorded sound. For most of human existence, music could not be saved. A song was sung and then it was gone, alive only in memory. Then, just over 140 years ago, people began to figure out how to scratch the shape of a sound into a soft surface, like wax or foil, so that a needle could later trace it and bring the sound back to life. The first recordings were tiny and crackly, and the people who heard them sometimes wept, simply because a voice that had gone silent could now be heard again. The miracle of preserving sound is something we now take for granted, but it is, when you sit quietly with it, one of the most tender inventions humans have ever made. We can now hear the laughter of people who lived a century ago. We can hear songs sung by voices that are no longer here. The night holds many small ghosts of music, all of them harmless, all of them welcome. Imagine now the deep underwater songs of icebergs and glaciers. As ice cracks, melts, and grinds against rock, it releases low groans and soft pops that carry through the cold water for great distances. Microphones lowered into polar seas have caught the sound of huge ice sheets moaning like ancient creatures, slow and unhurried. Some of these recordings, when slowed down, sound almost like deep meditative music, like a planet quietly clearing its throat. Even our oldest, coldest places are not silent. Even the still places are filled with their own gentle song, far from any human ear, simply existing, simply being heard by the sea. Drift now to the soft truth that singing together can synchronize people's bodies. When a choir sings, especially when they are well rehearsed and breathing together, their heart rates can begin to align. Their breathing becomes part of the same long phrase. They are, in a quiet way, becoming a single organism for the duration of the song. Many cultures have understood this for a long time, even without measuring it. Sea shanties helped sailors haul on ropes in unison. Work songs helped fields full of people move together in steady rhythm. Hymns gathered congregations into a common breath. Singing, it seems, is not only a way of making sound. It is also a way of making us, of stitching individuals into something larger and softer than themselves. And finally, for this gentle group, consider the way certain songs become tied forever to certain memories. A song you heard at a wedding, a tune that played in the background of a long road trip, a melody that filled the kitchen one summer evening. These can all become quietly woven into the fabric of your life. Years later, when the same song plays, the memory may rise up almost on its own, the smell of that summer evening, the feel of the wind through the car window, the laughter of someone you loved. This is why music can be so deeply moving, even tearful in unexpected moments. It carries time inside it. It can fold the years gently in half, so that something old briefly touches something new. Tonight, may every song that has ever soothed you whisper a little of that comfort into your bones, and may they all settle together into rest. Let yourself drift even more deeply now, as we wander toward the quiet idea that the human brain is wired to find patterns in sound. From the very first moments after birth, the brain is sorting through every noise it hears, looking for repetition, for rhythm, for melody, for meaning. This is part of why music feels so natural to us. Our minds are constantly trying to predict what comes next, and music plays gently with those predictions. A satisfying chord arrives just where we expected. A surprising note bends the melody in a new direction. A drum hits exactly on time, or sometimes just a little late, in a way that makes us tilt our heads with delight. Listening to music is, in a quiet sense, a soft game between the song and your brain, with both sides hoping to be lovingly surprised. Now picture gently the wide world of drums. Almost every culture in the world has invented some form of drum, from small handheld frames stretched with skin, to long hollow logs, to enormous ceremonial drums that take many people to play. Drums have been used to send messages between villages, to mark the beginning and end of important events, to call people together, to keep time during long journeys, and to soothe tired minds. There is something deep and old in the body's response to a steady drum beat. It can lower restlessness, slow racing thoughts, and gently remind the heart of its own rhythm. Even tonight, the slow, even pace of these sentences is a kind of soft drum, tapping out a rhythm of rest beneath the words. Imagine next the curious music of wind through narrow places. A breeze passing through tall grass makes a hissing, gentle song. The same breeze through a forest of pines becomes a deep sighing roar. Wind through telephone wires and old fences has its own thin, lonely whistle. Some cultures have built instruments specifically to be played by the wind, called aeolian harps. They sit on windowsills or in gardens, and when the breeze passes through their strings, they produce eerie, ever-changing chords with no human player needed. The wind itself becomes the musician. Listening to such an instrument is a little like overhearing the sky talk to itself, slowly, dreamily, with no particular destination in mind. Drift now to the soft fact that lullabies often share a slower tempo than typical songs, frequently somewhere near the speed of a calm, resting heartbeat. Many bedtime songs around the world fall within a similar gentle range, a tempo that feels naturally restful to the body. When you listen to a soft lullaby, your own heart and breath may quietly tune themselves toward that slow rhythm, the way two pendulums hanging near one another can eventually swing together. So in a very real sense, the songs we sing to soothe each other may also be gentle invitations for our bodies to slow down. Tonight, the unhurried pace of this voice is, in part, a kind of lullaby for grown-ups, an unhurried tempo that gives your body a soft pattern to follow into rest. Now consider with a small smile the strange phenomenon of music that gives some people gentle shivers. You may have noticed it yourself. A sudden wave of soft tingling along your arms or down your back, set off by a particular note, a sudden harmony, a swell of voices, or the moment a song you love opens up. Researchers have studied this experience and call it by various names, but the underlying truth is simple. Certain pieces of music in certain people can stir the body deeply, releasing soft chemical messengers that bring a quiet thrill. Not everyone experiences this in the same way, and that is fine. The point is that music is not just heard. It is felt, sometimes through the entire body at once, as if the song were briefly wearing you like a soft coat. And finally, for this slow handful, settle into the warm thought that humming can be its own gentle form of self-soothing. When you hum, the air vibrates inside your throat, your chest, your mouth, even softly through the bones of your skull. Some people find that humming, especially long, slow hums on a single low note, can ease tension and slow the breath. Many traditions all around the world have included humming in their meditation and prayer practices, often without ever calling it that. Tonight, you do not need to hum, of course, but it is nice to know that you carry, inside your chest, a small built-in instrument that you can play any time you wish, and that even the lightest hum, breathed into a quiet evening, can be a small kindness to yourself. Drift onward gently into the wondrous fact that the speed of sound is not always the same. In dry air at room temperature, sound moves at roughly the pace of a fast jet, but in water it can travel several times faster, and in solid materials like steel or stone, faster still. This means that if you were to put your ear against a long iron rail and someone tapped it far down the line, you would hear the tap through the metal long before you heard it through the air. There is something quietly magical in that. The world has many doors for sound to pass through, and each one has its own pace. The night around you is alive with all of these layers: the air, the walls, the distant ground, all carrying soft whispers at their own private speeds. Now drift to the soft idea of resonance, the gentle dance between two things that share a frequency. If you sing a particular note near a piano with the dampers lifted, the string that matches your pitch will softly begin to vibrate on its own, as if recognizing a friend. A wineglass can shatter when a singer hits exactly the right note loudly enough, but more often resonance is a tender thing, a quiet sympathy between objects. Many people feel that listening to music they love is a kind of resonance too, a moment when the song outside lines up with something already humming inside them. You may have felt it yourself, that soft inner chime when a particular song plays, as if the inside of you were saying, "Yes, yes, that's my note." Picture now, drifting in your mind, the great forests of bamboo from which so many flutes have been carved. Bamboo grows quickly and stands hollow, with thin walls that vibrate willingly when air passes through them. Different cultures around the world have invented countless varieties of bamboo flute, each with its own scale, its own breath, its own personality. Some are simple with just a few finger holes, and yet they can sing whole soundscapes, calling up images of mountains, mist, slow rivers, and quiet evenings. There is something tender about an instrument made simply by leaving a hollow inside something living, and trusting the breath to find its way through. Tonight, in a sense, you are also a hollow instrument through which breath flows. Each slow inhale and exhale is its own quiet song. Drift now to the small, lovely fact that singing in a steamy bathroom can make almost anyone sound a little better. The hard tile walls reflect sound back to the singer with very little absorption, and the moist air can be kind to the vocal cords. The result is a soft, natural reverb, a layering of echoes that gives even an ordinary voice the warm shimmer of a small recording studio. Many people who would never sing in front of others sing happily in the shower, and there is something charming about that. It suggests that the urge to sing lives inside almost everyone, and only needs the right safe space to come out. Tonight, your voice is at rest, but you might remember tomorrow, or the next day, that there is a small private concert hall waiting for you behind your bathroom door whenever you want it. Now wander toward the quiet thought that animals other than humans seem to enjoy music, in their own ways. Some studies have suggested that cows can produce a little more milk when relaxed by gentle music, that dogs may settle more easily when classical pieces play softly in the background, that certain birds will mimic the songs they hear in their environment, including melodies from radios and televisions. None of this means animals experience music exactly the way we do, of course, but it is a soft reminder that we share the world with many other listeners. The sound around us is not just for us. It floats through the lives of countless small creatures, and each of them, in their own way, is also somehow tuned in to the song of the world. And finally, for this set, consider that sometimes the most beautiful music is the music of stopping. When a great piece of music ends, especially in a quiet hall, there is often a tiny pocket of silence before the audience claps. Musicians often call this the most precious moment of the entire performance, the small breath of nothing in which the song lingers in everyone's bones. In that silence, the music is not really gone yet. It is still there, suspended in the room, slowly fading into memory. Tonight, you do not need a concert hall to feel this. Each time a sound in the night ends, a small soft silence follows. Each time a thought passes through your mind, a tiny pause comes after. The night is full of these gentle endings, and each one is its own small note, asking for nothing, simply being. Let yourself sink even deeper into the pillow as we move on, drifting toward the fact that some of the oldest melodies in the world come from rituals around fire. In many ancient and traditional cultures, gathering around a fire at night naturally invites singing. The flickering light, the warmth, the feeling of safety in the dark, all seem to coax melodies out of people. Anthropologists believe that some of the earliest human songs may have evolved in just such circles, when small groups gathered after the day's work and sang softly to one another, perhaps to share stories, perhaps simply to keep each other company against the long night. There is something tender in that picture, in the idea that for tens of thousands of years, humans have been singing each other through the dark. Tonight, in your own way, you are part of that long, soft tradition. Drift slowly toward the curious phenomenon of perfect pitch, the rare ability that some people have to identify a musical note simply by hearing it, without any reference. They can hear a single piano key tap or the hum of a distant motor, and instantly say, that's an A, that's a C sharp. It is a gentle kind of magic, mostly thought to develop in early childhood when language and music are first learned together. Most of us live without it, and that is perfectly fine, because most of music depends not on absolute pitches but on the relationships between them. Even without naming notes, your ear can tell when a song goes up, when it goes down, when it returns home. You are already a quiet expert in the shape of melody, simply by being human. Now picture the slow loveliness of a music box. Inside that small wooden case is a tiny metal cylinder studded with bumps, and a row of fine metal teeth. As the cylinder turns, the bumps pluck the teeth in sequence, releasing a delicate, twinkling tune. Music boxes were once a great wonder of their time. Imagine, in an age before recordings, owning a small object that could play music whenever you wound it, like a little singing animal you kept in a drawer. Many old music boxes still play today, their teeth a little worn, their melodies a touch slow, but their songs still arriving like a gentle visitor from another century. Tonight, the soft cycling of your own breath is like a kind of inner music box, turning steadily, releasing one slow, quiet note after another into the dark. Drift onward to the gentle fact that wind instruments in many traditions are seen as instruments of the breath, of the spirit, of the inner life. Whether it is a flute, a clarinet, a saxophone, or a great brass tuba, the player is essentially shaping their own breath into music. They breathe in deeply, then offer that air outward in a controlled, steady stream, sculpting it into notes. Watching a skilled wind player, you can see the body becoming a kind of bellows, an instrument inside an instrument. There is something almost devotional in this, the idea that the same air which keeps you alive can be lent, briefly, to a piece of wood or metal, and turned into something beautiful. Your own breath, even now, is making the very softest of music inside your chest. Settle into the soft idea that the human ear is gently asymmetrical in how it processes sound. The right ear, in many people, is slightly more responsive to language and rhythm, while the left ear can be a touch more sensitive to melody and emotional tone. This is a delicate generalization, of course, and it varies from person to person, but it suggests that listening is not a single process. It is a quiet collaboration between the two sides of your head, each ear feeding the brain its own slightly different version of the same sound, and the brain weaving them together into a single experience. Tonight, both of your ears are softly receiving these words, and your brain is gently making sense of them, all without effort on your part. Such a small, tireless miracle. Finally, for this group, consider the long tradition of evening concerts and night music. In many cultures, certain kinds of music are seen as belonging especially to the evening, to twilight, to the slow hours after dinner. There are evening ragas in some musical traditions, played only after the sun has set, meant to deepen the mood of the night. There are nocturnes in the European piano tradition, soft pieces written specifically to evoke the feeling of darkness gently falling. There are quiet folk songs sung on porches as the stars come out. In so many places, on so many evenings, humans have agreed, almost without saying it, that the night calls for softer music. Tonight, this video is its own small night music, drifting slowly through the dark, asking nothing of you except that you allow it to wash gently over you as you rest. Take another quiet pause with me here. There is no rush to keep going. Let your eyes, if they are still open, rest for a moment on a single spot in the room, or simply close. Notice the warm weight of your own body, sinking just a little more into the bed beneath you. Notice the air around you, neither too cold nor too warm, simply being air, simply being here. If your mind has drifted off at any point, that is a wonderful sign. Drifting is exactly what we want tonight. You do not need to keep track of any of the facts we have wandered through. They are not stones to be carried. They are leaves to drift beside you on the slow river of the night. Take one slow breath in and gently let it go. Then another, even slower. A long, easy breath out, like a soft sigh of relief at the end of a long week. Imagine the sound of that breath as a tiny piece of music, played for an audience of one, just for you, just for this moment. You're doing so wonderfully well. The night is happy to have you. The bed is happy to hold you. The dark is friendly, and the soft sounds of the room are friendly, and these gentle stories are friendly too. There is nothing in this moment that is asking anything of you. We will simply continue when you are ready, and you can drift along or drift off, whichever feels best. Slowly, slowly, let us return to our quiet wandering with the soft thought that the human brain processes music in many places at once. Rhythm tends to involve regions tied to movement and timing. Melody and harmony engage areas linked with pattern recognition and prediction. The emotional sweep of a song can involve deeper, older parts of the brain that are also connected to memory and feeling. This is part of why music can be so moving. It is not received in a single small corner of the mind, but spreads gently through it like warm tea spreading through still water. Even people who have lost some abilities through illness or injury often retain a deep connection to familiar songs, suggesting that music has many doors into the self, and not all of them can be easily closed. Drift now toward the lovely truth that the act of clapping along to music tends to bring people into a shared rhythm. In a crowd, even when no one is leading, hands often find a common beat within a few seconds. There is a quiet pleasure in that, a small social glue. Researchers studying this have noted that synchrony in movement can deepen our sense of connection to those around us, even with strangers. It is part of why concerts, festivals, religious gatherings, and dances have been part of human life for as long as we can remember. We are creatures who like to keep time together. Tonight, you are not in a crowd, of course, but you are still part of a vast, gentle audience. All the people who, somewhere in the world, are listening to soft sounds and trying to rest. In some quiet way, you are not alone. Now consider the kindness of soft background music, the kind that plays quietly in cafes, in waiting rooms, in shops, in living rooms. When such music is well chosen, it can soften the edges of a space, slowing footsteps a little, lowering voices a little, making strangers more patient with each other. Some studies have even suggested that gentle music can change the way people experience time when they are waiting, making minutes feel less long. There is real care in that, an unspoken hospitality in the choice to play something soothing for whoever happens to walk in. Tonight, the slow flow of this voice is like that kind of background music, layered gently into the air of your room, asking only that the night feel a touch friendlier because of it. Picture with closed eyes the soft intelligence of a tuning fork. It is a simple thing, a small metal Y, and yet when struck it produces a remarkably pure tone, one of the cleanest single pitches a person can make. For a long time, musicians and instrument tuners used tuning forks to set the pitch for their entire ensemble. There is something quietly philosophical about a tuning fork. It says, here is one note, simple and clear. Now, if you wish, you may build a whole world of music around it. In a similar way, this slow, calm voice might be a kind of tuning fork for the night, offering one steady tone of calm around which the rest of your sleepy thoughts can gently arrange themselves. Drift slowly to the small wonder that whispering is a different kind of music. When you whisper, the vocal cords do not vibrate the way they do in normal speech. Instead, the sound is shaped almost entirely by the breath flowing past the soft surfaces of the mouth. Whispers can carry intimacy, secrecy, tenderness, urgency. They can be soothing in a very particular way, especially when the rhythm is slow and the tone is kind. Many people find that whispered audio is deeply relaxing, as if the brain reads it as the kind of voice used only for those very close to you. Tonight, even though this voice is not whispering, perhaps you can feel a hint of that same closeness, as if a soft companion were sitting near, telling you slow stories at the edge of sleep. And finally, for this set, drift toward the soft fact that some scientists have proposed that music exists in part because it strengthens bonds between people. In this view, music is a kind of social grooming for humans, the way some animals groom one another to maintain their relationships. We sing at weddings, at funerals, at births, at gatherings. We share favorite songs as little gifts. We hum to babies, hum to ourselves, hum to people we love. Music threads us together quietly all the time. Tonight, although the room may be still, you are still woven into that great web of song, by every lullaby ever sung to you, by every melody you have ever cherished, by every quiet hum that has ever soothed you. You belong to a long, soft history of music, and it belongs just as gently to you. Drift now into the gentle fact that musical scales differ across cultures, and yet all of them seem to make sense to the human ear in their own way. The familiar major and minor scales of much Western music are only a small slice of the world's possibilities. There are scales with intervals that sound exotic to one ear and entirely natural to another. There are tunings that divide an octave into many more steps than usual, allowing for delicate microtones, tiny shifts in pitch that can color a melody with grief, joy, or longing. Music is not one universal language but rather a family of languages, all of them speaking in their own dialects of beauty. And yet, anywhere in the world, a beautiful melody seems to know how to find its way into a sleepy mind. Tonight, your mind is a soft, open room, willing to welcome any kind of song. Picture the sound of rain. There is a reason so many people find it deeply soothing. Rain, when it falls steadily, produces what is sometimes called a kind of broadband noise, a soft mixture of many frequencies all blending together. This gentle mixture has the curious effect of masking sudden, sharp sounds, like a soft blanket laid over the ears. It can soothe the body, slow the breath, and quiet the mind. Many sleep recordings simply use rainfall, or sounds that resemble it, because the body recognizes the steady patter of rain as a sign that the world outside is safe and familiar. Tonight, even if the sky is clear, the slow ebb and flow of this voice can stand in for that kind of rain, a softly steady backdrop for your rest. Drift now to the curious world of sound and architecture. Some buildings are designed almost entirely around sound. Concert halls are shaped to gently lift music to every seat. Recording studios are designed to keep sound contained and clean. Some museums and libraries are designed to absorb noise so that the air inside feels hushed, like the inside of a thick book. Even ordinary homes have their own acoustic personality. Some rooms make voices ring, others swallow them. The next time you wake into a quiet day, you might gently notice the acoustic shape of your own home, the way certain corners feel warmer or quieter, the way certain rooms feel like they want to be sung in. For tonight, though, your room is exactly as it should be, gathering these soft words and holding them around you like a warm, invisible cloak. Slide gently toward the lovely fact that some of the oldest written music in the world is over 3,000 years old. Tablets and stones from ancient cultures contain markings that scholars have slowly worked to decode, revealing fragments of melodies that were sung in temples or palaces long, long ago. When these fragments are carefully reconstructed, they often surprise listeners with how musical they still sound. A melody is a stubborn, lovely thing. Even after thousands of years buried in clay, it can be persuaded back into the air. Tonight, in a way, every song you have ever known is part of a long line of melodies that began very far away, in places and times you will never visit, sung by people whose names will never be known. And yet they still sing, faintly, through everything you hear. Now picture the gentle science of harmonics, the layered tones that sit quietly above any single note. When you pluck a guitar string, the fundamental note is the loudest, but above it sit a series of softer tones, each at a higher frequency, each blending into the overall sound. These harmonics are why a guitar sounds different from a flute, even at the same pitch. They are also why some skilled players can coax a single string to sing in two voices at once, picking out a high glassy note while the deeper note still hums beneath it. Even your own voice has its harmonics, especially when you sing or hum. There are entire traditions of throat singing in which one performer can produce two distinct pitches at the same time, weaving a small choir out of one human throat. Such wonders, all happening because of the simple fact that a vibrating string, or column of air, prefers to dance in many ways at once. And finally, for this peaceful set, consider the long cultural history of singing as a form of comfort during illness or grief. Many traditions include songs sung to those who are sick, psalms sung at funerals, songs sung to mourners in the long days afterward. These songs are not meant to fix anything. They are meant to keep the person company, to weave a small soft circle around them in a hard time. Some hospitals today even have music programs, where gentle musicians visit patients and play quietly for them, simply as a kindness, simply because soft music can ease tension and bring a little brightness into a difficult moment. Tonight, you are perfectly well, but the same kind of softness is offered here freely. This voice is not trying to teach you. It is simply keeping you company in the dark, the way a friend might. Drift now into the gentle thought that the act of listening, truly listening, is itself a kind of music. When you focus on a sound, even an ordinary one like a clock ticking or distant traffic or the soft whisper of a fan, you are letting it in, allowing it to pass through your awareness. Many meditation traditions have used sound listening as a way to settle the mind, asking the listener to simply notice the sounds around them without needing to name or judge them. In this view, the world is constantly performing a quiet symphony, and most of the time we miss it because we are too busy with our thoughts. Tonight, you do not need to listen carefully. You can let sound wash over you, soft and unsordid like water over a smooth stone. Picture the soft truth that very low and very slow music has often been used to support deep relaxation. Many recordings designed for sleep, meditation, and gentle therapies use slow, simple melodies, often without strong beats, often layered with soft drones or gentle pads of sound. The body seems to read these long, unhurried tones as signals that it is safe to settle. There is no sudden change to brace against, no climactic moment to wait for, simply a soft, ongoing presence. Tonight, the steady pace of these words, with their slow breath and unhurried rhythm, is in the same family. It is offering your body the same quiet message. Nothing is happening that needs your attention. You can let go. Now wander slowly toward the small fact that the words for music in many languages have ancient roots tied to the idea of inspiration, breath, and the muses. The very word music in some traditions comes from old terms connected with mythological figures who were thought to inspire artists. Whether or not we believe in such figures, there is something charming about the notion. To make music is to be visited briefly by something larger than ourselves. To listen to music is to host that something for a while. So tonight, in some gentle way, every memory of music inside you is a small history of being visited, of being moved, of being breathed upon by something beautiful. Drift onward to the soothing fact that gentle, predictable sounds can help young children, animals, and even adults feel safer in unfamiliar environments. Many parents play soft music or white noise in nurseries because it gives the room a steady auditory blanket. Many shelters for rescued animals do the same, finding that soft music can help frightened creatures relax. The same is sometimes true for adults in hospitals, in airplanes, in long journeys away from home. The presence of a steady, unthreatening sound seems to whisper to the nervous system, "All is well, you may rest." Tonight, you are in your own familiar place, but the same gift is here for you. A long, soft tone of words, asking your body to lay down its small worries. Picture now the great diversity of stringed instruments around the world, from the small lute-like instruments of mountain villages, to the grand harps of temple traditions, to the long-necked instruments of the steppes and deserts, to the deep-bellied basses of orchestras. Strings stretched over a hollow body, plucked, strummed, bowed, struck, are one of humanity's most universal inventions. Across continents and centuries, people have looked at a piece of gut, sinew, or wire stretched tight, and have heard the possibility of a song. There is something deeply tender in that, in our long shared insistence that the world is more bearable when there is music in it. Tonight, every string ever tuned by human hands has, in its own quiet way, helped lay down the road that brought you to this restful moment. And finally for this set, settle into the lovely thought that we ourselves are made of vibrations. Every cell in your body is filled with movement. Atoms vibrate, molecules tremble. Tiny structures inside your cells beat and pulse and shift all the time. In a quiet, almost poetic sense, you are a sort of slow, complex song that has been playing for as long as you have been alive. The night is quiet, but your inner music plays on, unhurried, faithful, full of small, repeating themes. Tonight, you do not need to compose anything new. You can let that inner music continue on its own, while you simply drift, while these gentle words drift, while the night gathers softly around the music of you. Let your breath grow even slower now, as we step softly toward the lovely fact that humans may be the only species we know of who consistently make music together in time. Many animals make sounds, and many produce something that might be called song, but the precise way humans gather in groups, agree on a beat, and play complex layered music together over long stretches of time appears to be remarkably rare. Whether in a small folk circle or a large orchestra, we coordinate our breathing, our movements, our voices, our hands, and we do it for hours, for the simple shared joy of it. There is something deeply human in that, an old, gentle insistence that beauty is best when shared. Tonight, even alone in your bed, you are part of that long harmony. Drift now toward the calming truth that gentle music has been used in many traditions as part of healing practices for thousands of years. Long before modern medicine, psalms and chants were sung over those who were ill, around those who were grieving, beside those who were giving birth. These psalms were not always meant to cure anything specifically. Often they were meant simply to bring presence, attention, and softness into the room. Modern research has begun to gently confirm what these traditions seem to know intuitively, that calm music can help slow racing thoughts, ease tension, and support the body's own inclination toward rest. Tonight, let the slow flow of these words be a similar small kindness, offered to you for no reason other than that you deserve a little softness. Now picture the small wonder of bone conduction, the way some sound can reach your inner ear not through the air, but directly through the bones of your skull. This is part of why your own voice often sounds different to you than it does to others. When you speak, you hear yourself partly through bone conduction, which adds a richness that microphones do not capture. When you hear a recording of yourself, the bone-conducted layers are missing, and you hear only what other people have always heard. Many people are surprised, even amused by this. Tonight, though, there is no need to think about it. Simply notice that your skull is a quiet little instrument of its own, picking up sound through both air and bone, never resting, always listening. Drift gently to the small fact that some musicians become so practiced that their fingers can play certain pieces without conscious thought, the way you can walk without thinking about each step. The brain, in such cases, has woven the music deeply into its movement systems. The musician thinks about feeling, about phrasing, about the room, about the audience, while the fingers go ahead and find the right keys or strings on their own. There is a quiet wisdom in that, in the idea that long practice can free the mind to focus on something deeper while the body handles the details. Tonight, your body is also doing that same kind of unspoken work, breathing for you, beating your heart for you, taking care of countless small things, while your awareness can simply rest. Now picture the cool, dreamlike quality of music played underwater. Sound travels well through water, and certain instruments, like underwater speakers used in synchronized swimming or in the ocean for studying marine life, produce strange, muffled tones that feel as if they belong to another world. Whales and dolphins live their entire lives bathed in such sound. Their songs are not interruptions in their world. They are part of the very texture of it. To imagine the ocean is to imagine a vast, slowly singing room, with creatures large and small drifting through its songs. Tonight, you can let your bed feel a little like that quiet sea, holding you gently, with the soft tide of these words moving back and forth around you. And finally, for this group, consider the soft idea that even silence has a kind of music to it. Different silences have different qualities. The silence of a snowy forest is different from the silence of a closed library, which is different from the silence of an empty cathedral, which is different from the silence of a sleeping house at night. Each of these silences is shaped by the place it lives in, by the shapes of the walls or trees, by the small unintended sounds that creep in around the edges. There is no such thing as truly empty silence in our normal lives. There is only the particular flavor of quiet that surrounds us at any moment. Tonight, your silence is a friendly one, a soft, sleepy quiet with a gentle voice running gently through it, like a small stream in a wide, restful field. Drift now slowly into the warm fact that listening to music we love can release soft chemical messengers in our brains that bring feelings of pleasure, comfort, and connection. The exact details are gentle and complicated, but the general truth is simple. Music can make us feel good in measurable ways in the body. This is why a favorite song can lift a heavy mood, why a familiar tune can soothe a hard moment, why people often turn to music in difficult times. Tonight, although the room is still and the world outside is hushed, the slow rhythm of these words is offering its own small version of this comfort, an unhurried voice that asks your body gently to remember how nice it feels to be safe, to be warm, to be cared for. Picture next the strange and lovely fact that some people experience music in ways that involve other senses, a phenomenon known as synesthesia. For these listeners, certain notes or chords may carry colors, textures, or even tastes. A particular key might feel deep blue, or warm gold, or soft green. A certain chord might feel like velvet, or rain, or sunlight on water. Most of us do not experience music this way, but reading about it can deepen our appreciation for how rich the inner life of listening can be. Even without true synesthesia, you may notice that some music seems brighter than others, or darker, or warmer, or cooler. Music has a quiet color to it, even for those of us who only see it with the inner eye. Drift onward to the simple, beautiful idea that lullabies are often passed gently from generation to generation, from grandparent to parent to child. A lullaby you learned as a child may have been sung to your parent, and to your grandparent before them, slowly drifting down through the family like a small, soft inheritance. In this way, melodies can outlive the people who first sang them, traveling on the breath of those who loved them. Some scholars have noticed that certain lullabies in some regions are remarkably old, with versions appearing across many generations and even across borders, as families moved and carried their songs along. Tonight, you may not be hearing a lullaby in the traditional sense, but you are certainly being held by something similar, a long, gentle song carried softly into your night. Now imagine the calm wisdom of monks chanting in long, low voices, in stone halls full of candlelight. Many monastic traditions in many parts of the world have practiced this kind of slow, repetitive vocal music for centuries. The chants are often built on simple melodies, sung over and over with small variations, allowing the singer's mind to settle deeply into the sound. Listeners, too, often report a deep calm when listening to such chants, as if the body itself relaxed in response to the steady, unhurried voices. Even if you are not a monk and never will be, the slow rhythm of chanting belongs, in a soft way, to all of us. Tonight, the unhurried rhythm of this narration is its own quiet kind of chant, repeating gently the simple message that you may rest. Drift gently to the small fact that the human ear is most sensitive to certain ranges of pitch, particularly those that match the human voice. This makes a kind of sense. We evolved in a world where the most important sounds were often the voices of family members, of friends, of warnings or invitations from our own kind. Babies, in particular, are deeply tuned to human voices from very early on, often preferring them to other sounds. Even now, your ear is listening to a human voice in just this favored range, gently, without effort. Some quiet, instinctive part of you may be receiving this voice the way it once received the voices of those who cared for you long ago. You are, in your own way, in good company. And finally, for this set, consider the soft, almost magical phenomenon of déjà entendu, the feeling of having already heard a piece of music before, even if you know you have not. It is the auditory cousin of déjà vu, that strange brush of familiarity that sometimes drifts across our days. Some researchers think it has to do with the brain noticing patterns from many different songs and briefly recognizing them in a new combination. Others see it as a small, harmless quirk of memory. Whatever the cause, it is a tender reminder that our minds are not simple recorders. They are imaginative, dreamy, often poetic in their own quiet way. Tonight, your mind may dream up its own private familiarities as you drift, and that is welcome and it is safe, and there is no need to chase any of it. Let us pause once more here in this soft middle of the night. There is no part of you that needs to be doing anything right now. No problem to solve, no task to remember, no worry to wrestle with. Whatever is left of your day can be set down on a small imaginary shelf beside the bed, ready to be picked up tomorrow if it is still there. Often by morning, half of those things have quietly walked away on their own. Take a slow breath in and let it slip out gently, like a curtain being drawn over a window. Notice how the small, steady sound of your breath is its own quiet music, accompanying these words, layering softly under everything we say. You have been breathing your whole life, and you do not need to think about how to do it. Your body remembers. Your body knows. If your eyes are still open, you may feel them growing heavier, like soft petals at the end of a long day. If they are already closed, lovely, simply let them stay that way. There is no expectation here, no test, no goal beyond the quiet gift of being able to rest. You're doing so well. You really are. The fact that you have stayed with this voice this long, allowing yourself to be carried slowly through these gentle thoughts, is its own small act of kindness toward yourself. Let the rest of the night be that same kind of kindness, soft, unhurried, friendly, just for you. We continue gently, drifting now toward the calm fact that the night sky has often been compared to music, and not only by poets. Many composers throughout history have written pieces inspired by stars, by moonlight, by quiet evenings. Slow, sparse melodies often evoke the feeling of looking up at a vast, dark sky scattered with small lights. There is something deeply restful about the pairing. Music and night, both of them invite a kind of inward listening, a softening of attention, a sense that something larger than ourselves is gently present. Tonight, even if your curtains are drawn, the night is still out there, vast and patient, and these slow words are walking with you through it. Picture now the soft truth that some plants seem to respond in subtle ways to sound and music. Studies on this are gentle and mixed, but there are hints that certain vibrations may influence growth or movement in delicate ways. Whether or not plants truly enjoy music as we do, there is something charming about the idea that the world may be more responsive to sound than we usually think. A song does not stop at our ears. It travels, ripples, brushes against leaves and walls and skin and bone. In a small way, every song is a quiet hand that touches a great many things at once, even in a quiet bedroom at night, even now. Drift to the small wonder that very young children often invent songs. Long before they can read music, before they fully understand grammar, before they have learned a single song in a formal sense, they tend to sing as they play. Little wandering melodies float out of them as they stack blocks, push toys around, or wander through a garden. These small private songs are usually unself-conscious and unpolished, but they often carry surprisingly complete musical structures. There is something tender in that, in the idea that human beings seem to want to sing almost as soon as they can do anything else. Inside even the most quiet, grown-up version of yourself, that small singing child still lives, somewhere, humming softly. Now wander toward the gentle fact that music can mark the passing of time across our lives. Many people find that certain songs become unofficially attached to certain ages, certain seasons, certain chapters. There may be songs that always sound to you like summer, songs that feel like late autumn, songs that smell somehow of a particular winter. Years later, hearing one of these songs can briefly fold time, returning a small piece of who you used to be back into your present body. Some people find this comforting, others bittersweet, but in either case there is a kind of beauty in it. Music gives our memories shapes to settle into, like soft furniture in the rooms of our years. Picture the soft idea of a tuning system, the agreed-upon set of pitches that musicians in a region or tradition used to play together. There have been many tuning systems throughout history. Some allow for very pure, simple intervals between certain notes, but become tense when shifting to other keys. Others are slightly compromised, with each interval bent just a little, so that all keys sound roughly the same. The familiar tuning of much modern Western music is a kind of compromise, balanced for flexibility. There is a quiet philosophy in that, in the idea that perfect harmony in one place sometimes requires a small softening elsewhere. It is an old, soft truth that applies to far more than music. And finally for this set, consider the calming fact that you can train your ear over a lifetime, in small, gentle ways, just by listening. The more attention you bring to sound, the more layers you tend to notice. A piece of music you have heard many times can still surprise you with a new detail you had never noticed before, a small inner voice in the harmony, a tiny rhythmic shift, a soft instrument hiding behind another. In this way, Listening can be a slow, lifelong practice, a kind of friendship with the world of sound that deepens as the years go by. Tonight, however, you do not need to listen carefully. You can let the words drift past you, and that drifting is its own way of listening, soft and easy, just right for the late hours. Drift onward gently, into the soft fact that ancient sailors often sang while working, and these songs were not just for amusement. Tasks like raising sails, hauling ropes, and pulling heavy lines required coordinated effort, and a sea shanty gave the crew a shared rhythm, a way to pull together at exactly the same moment. The lead singer would call out a line, the others would respond, and the work would move forward in time with the song. There is something quietly moving in that, in the idea that for centuries on dark seas under wide skies, sailors held themselves and each other together with melody. Tonight, the slow, gentle pulse of this voice is a softer kind of shanty, holding you and the night together as we drift. Picture now the soft mystery of why certain songs become hits, while others, equally lovely, fade quietly away. Researchers have studied this for a long time, and while there are patterns, much of it remains pleasantly mysterious. Some songs simply seem to find a moment, a feeling, a season, and become woven into the lives of millions of strangers all at once. Others, just as carefully made, drift through the world without ever being widely heard, but may still mean the world to a single listener somewhere. There is a quiet democracy in that. A song does not need to be famous to be a perfect song to one person. Tonight, somewhere in your memory, there are songs almost no one else knows that have been deeply important to you, and that closeness is part of what music is for. Drift slowly into the gentle truth that most of us underestimate just how much of our daily life is shaped by sound. We often think of vision as our primary sense, but our ears are constantly informing us of things we never quite notice. The slight echo that tells us a hallway is empty, the shift in a conversation's tone that lets us know a friend is upset, the faint hum that tells us the refrigerator is running, the rumble in the distance that tells us a storm is far away. Sound paints a constant, soft picture of the world that supports nearly everything we do. Tonight, your ears can do less of this work because the world is quiet, the words are slow, and the picture being painted is simply one of soft rest. Now wander toward the small fact that some musical instruments are quite literally built around the body. Wind instruments shape themselves to the breath. String instruments expect arms and fingers of human size. Drums fit comfortably between knees, between hands, between the chest and the floor. Even pianos, with their arrays of keys, are built to roughly match the span of a human hand. Music, in many ways, is what happens when human bodies meet certain materials in the right way. We are part of the instrument. There is no piano without a pianist, no flute without a player, no song without a singer. Tonight, your body is at rest, but the small possibility of music remains in your hands, in your throat, ready to return whenever you wish in some kinder daylight hour. Picture with closed eyes the soft kindness of a hum. To hum, you simply close your lips and let the breath flow through you while making a tone. There is no effort required. You do not need to know any words, any melody, any tradition. A hum is one of the simplest possible musical acts, and yet it can be deeply soothing. Many people hum without realizing it, while doing dishes, while walking down a hallway, while waiting for water to boil. Tonight, the slow rhythm of these words is a kind of hum on your behalf, a low, even tone of calm carrying you along, asking nothing in return. And finally for this set, consider the lovely fact that some people fall asleep most easily not in silence, but in the gentle company of soft sound. For these listeners, total silence can feel sharp, almost lonely, while a soft voice or quiet music can wrap around them like a blanket. There is no single right way to fall asleep, of course. Some prefer the deep quiet of a still room. Others prefer the steady murmur of a fan, of distant rain, of a slow bedtime voice. Tonight, you are choosing the company of soft sound, and that is a perfectly lovely choice. Your bed is here, your room is here, your breath is here, this voice is here, and that is enough. Let yourself drift even further as we wander into the calming idea that certain musical patterns appear in almost every culture, regardless of distance or history. The repeating chorus, the simple verse, the call and response, the rising and falling melody, these basic shapes are found across the globe. It is as if the human mind has a few favorite musical doors, and each culture decorates them differently. There's something deeply reassuring in this, in the idea that beneath all the differences in instruments, languages, and styles, music has a common heartbeat that all of us share. Tonight, that gentle common heartbeat is humming softly through everything we have wandered through, like a quiet thread tying it all together. Drift toward the gentle thought that the simple act of singing along with music we love can bring extra layers of joy. When we sing along, we are not just receiving the song, we are joining it. The vibrations of our own voice mingle with the song, and our breath shapes itself to the phrases. Some people are shy about singing along, especially in public, and that is understandable, but in private, in the car, in the kitchen, in the shower, many people sing along with great enthusiasm. There is something childlike and free about it, a small refusal to take the world too seriously. Tonight, your voice is at rest, but you may notice, perhaps in the morning, how often you instinctively want to sing along when a beloved song begins to play. Picture the warm fact that humans have sung to plants, to gardens, to crops, in many traditions around the world. Some songs were practical, helping workers keep rhythm during sowing or harvesting. Others were more devotional, offered as gentle blessings to fields and orchards. Whether or not the plants noticed, the people did. The act of singing during work tied them to the land, to each other, and to the seasons. There is a simple, sweet wisdom there. When you fold music into a task, the task becomes lighter. The hours pass more gently. Even small chores can be transformed into a soft kind of ceremony when a quiet song is woven through them. Drift to the soft fact that some animals appear to enjoy humming and gentle vocal sounds from their human companions. Cats often respond to soft talking and soft singing in their own way, sometimes by purring, sometimes by settling closer. Dogs may listen attentively, even tilting their heads. Many bird species, especially those kept as companions, mimic and incorporate human voices and tunes into their own songs. Researchers continue to learn about how these animals experience our voices, but the gentle truth, regardless of details, is that our music does not stay within us. It flows out, into the rooms we share with other living things, and they respond in their own small ways to its presence. Tonight, your voice and breath are quiet, but the gentle world around you is still kindly tuning in. Now wander toward the lovely truth that every recorded song we listen to is a kind of preserved breath. Inside that recording is the breath of singers, the breath of horn players, the breath of those who, even when not singing, leaned close to microphones and shaped the air. When we play a song from many years ago, we are, in some sense, re-releasing those long-ago breaths into our own rooms. They were captured, set aside, and now, with the touch of a button, they can fill the air again. There's something tender in that, almost ghostly, but in the kindest possible way. Music keeps small pieces of our human breathing alive long after the singers have gone home, or even gone forever. And finally, for this set, consider the gentle fact that learning to play any instrument, even a little, can change the brain in soft, subtle ways over time. Skills develop. Coordination improves. Memory networks shift. People who have played an instrument for years often retain a certain kind of mental flexibility into older age, perhaps because they have spent so much time bridging their senses and their movements through music. You do not need to take up an instrument tonight, of course. The point is simply that music is not only something we passively consume. It is something we can shape and be shaped by in our own bodies over time. And even just listening, like you are now, is its own small kind of gentle exercise for the inner ear. Drift now toward the soft truth that the sound of moving water has been used for relaxation by humans for as long as we can remember. Streams, fountains, gentle waterfalls, the sea hushing against a shore, all of these have a soothing quality that seems to settle the body almost without trying. Many gardens around the world are designed specifically around the sound of moving water, with small fountains or quiet channels added precisely so that visitors will hear them as they walk. There is something deeply familiar in this. We are creatures who began near water, who depend on it, and our bodies seem to recognize its quiet music as a gentle promise that life can continue. Picture next the lovely idea that singing in groups has been linked, in some studies, to improvements in mood and a sense of belonging. People who join choirs, community singing groups, or even casual sing-alongs often describe feeling brighter, lighter, more connected afterward. There is something special about the way many voices weaving together can soften loneliness, even temporarily. You do not have to be a great singer for this to work. The simple act of opening your throat and letting your voice mingle with others seems to be enough. Tonight you are alone, but the long, slow flow of these words is a kind of distant choir, in its own way, with you as both audience and quiet member. Drift gently into the small fact that musical training in childhood may help some children develop in ways that go beyond music itself. Studies have noted gentle links to attention, language skills, coordination, and patience. Of course, music is wonderful in its own right, not as a tool for something else, but it is touching to know that learning a few songs, plinking on a small keyboard, or singing in a school choir might leave soft, helpful traces all through life. Whether or not you took music lessons as a child, every song you loved, every tune you sang, every bit of clapping and dancing you ever did, has likely left some quiet imprint on the person you have become. Now wander toward the calm thought that music has often been used in long journeys, on long roads, on long voyages. Travelers carry psalms with them, sometimes literally as recordings on small devices, sometimes simply in their heads. A song hummed quietly on a train, a melody whispered on a long flight, a tune sung softly by a parent in a long car ride, all of these are small acts of company on the way to somewhere else. The night, in some sense, is also a journey. You are traveling slowly through hours of darkness toward morning, and these gentle words are walking quietly along with you, like a kind companion in the soft passenger seat of your evening. Picture the small wonder that some sounds have particular cultural meanings tied to specific rituals, and yet often share emotional qualities across cultures. Certain bells, certain horns, certain drums are linked with celebrations, weddings, mournings, or sacred moments around the world. Even when you do not know the tradition behind a particular sound, you can sometimes sense the feeling it carries. A solemn bell often sounds solemn to almost any listener. A bright, bouncing bell often sounds joyful. There's a quiet shared vocabulary of feeling and sound, woven into our human lives, that goes deeper than language. And finally, for this set, consider the simple, peaceful truth that we are allowed to enjoy music for no reason at all. We do not need to justify our love for a particular song. We do not need to defend our taste. We do not need to know the history of the band or the mood of the composer or the technical details of the production. We are allowed to simply love a song because it makes us feel something. We are allowed to play it again and again. We are allowed to keep certain songs as quiet treasures in the small private rooms of our lives. Tonight, you are allowed to love the slow rhythm of this voice for no reason at all, and to allow it to soothe you simply because it does. Let's take one more soft pause here. We are so deep into the night now, so deep into this quiet journey, and you have been such a gentle companion. I am grateful for your presence here just as you are. Take one slow breath in, and one slow, easy breath out. Notice how the air enters cool and leaves a touch warmer. Notice how nothing about your breath is asking anything of you. It simply continues, faithful and kind, the way it has every moment of your life. If at any point your mind has wandered far from the words, that is exactly fine. If you are mostly resting and only half listening, that is exactly fine too. If you have already drifted into sleep at some point and floated back, that is one of the loveliest possible things. There is no wrong way to do this. Imagine just for a moment that all the songs of your life are gathered softly around you in the dark, like small lanterns. Lullabies from when you were very small. Songs from school days. Tunes from holidays, weddings, road trips, evenings at home. They do not need to play right now. They simply hover friendly, holding a soft circle of light around your bed. You are safe. You are warm. You are allowed to rest. Whatever the day asked of you, whatever tomorrow may ask, this hour belongs to softness. We will continue our quiet walk through the world of sound for a little longer, and then, gently, we will let everything settle into stillness. Drift slowly now into the warm fact that a great deal of the world's traditional music has been passed down without ever being written. For thousands of years, songs lived only in voices and memories, taught by one singer to another, from grandparent to grandchild, from teacher to student, from village to village. Mistakes crept in. Variations grew. New verses were added. Old verses were forgotten. And yet somehow, the songs survived, sometimes for many centuries, simply because people kept singing them. There is something quietly heroic in that, in the idea that human attention and care alone have kept entire bodies of music alive across enormous stretches of time. Tonight, in your own way, you are part of that long chain, every time you remember and hum a song that someone once taught you. Picture next the gentle truth that very simple sounds, like the slow tick of an old clock, the soft drip of a faucet, the steady hum of a heater, can sometimes be more soothing than the most elaborate music. The body often craves predictability before it sleeps, a small, patient rhythm that says, "The world is steady, you may rest now." Many quiet bedrooms have at least one such sound somewhere, a fan, a distant heater, the soft creak of the building settling. These tiny background rhythms are the unsung lullabies of ordinary life. Tonight, somewhere in your space, one of these soft rhythms may be playing, almost beneath your notice, gently keeping company with this voice. Drift now to the quiet fact that listening is something you can practice and deepen for as long as you live. Even very old listeners, who have been hearing music their whole lives, often discover new things in pieces they have known for decades. There is no upper limit to how richly a song can be experienced. Each time we listen, we bring a slightly different self to it, shaped by everything that has happened since the last time. So in a very real sense, you have never heard the same song twice, even if it was identical in its sounds. The you who heard it then is not exactly the you who hears it now. Tonight, the you who first started listening to this voice is not exactly the you listening at this moment. You have softened. You have settled. You have grown a little sleepier, and that, too, is a beautiful kind of music. And finally, for our last small handful of facts, consider the soft, simple truth that music is one of the kindest things humans have ever invented. It costs nothing to share. It can be made with almost any object that vibrates. It can be sung quietly to a tired baby in the middle of the night or roared joyfully by a stadium of strangers, and still be the same essential gift. It can carry grief, love, hope, mischief, devotion, longing, or peace. It does not care about wealth or status or appearance. It simply asks for ears, and even those are not strictly required, since deaf musicians have made beautiful music through vibration and movement and sight. Tonight, in this slow, quiet hour, you are wrapped in the soft truth that music, in all its forms, has been one of the longest, most loyal companions of the human family. and it is keeping you company, gently, even now, as we begin to draw this quiet journey toward its close. Let your breath grow slower still, soft and unhurried, like the long final notes of a piece that does not want to end with any harshness. Our quiet walk through the world of music and sound is gently winding down, and there is no rush about it. We can let it close as gently as it began, the way a candle slowly burns down in a quiet room, lower and lower, until at last only a soft, warm glow remains. We have wandered through so much together tonight. We listened in our imaginations to the trembling of a single string and to the great rolling thunder of cathedral organs. We touched the tiny coil of the inner ear, with its thousands of small hairs swaying like grass in a breeze. We thought about flutes carved from ancient bones, about whales singing across vast deep oceans, about icebergs groaning in cold water, about wind playing through telephone wires, about birds greeting the dawn. We considered the soft mathematics behind a chord, the patient design of concert halls, the gentle weight of a steady drumbeat, the quiet wisdom of monks chanting in candle-lit halls. We sat with the idea that we ourselves are made of vibration, that our own bodies are slow, complex songs playing for as long as we live. We remembered the heartbeat of a mother, that very first music. We remembered the lullabies that cradled us, the songs that marked our seasons, the melodies that have followed us across our years. We touched the strange beauty of recorded sound, of voices preserved long after the speakers have grown old or gone, and we thought about the kindness of soft background music, of humming, of whispering, of the simple act of singing along. You do not need to remember any of it. None of it was a lesson. It was all simply a gift, a long, soft companion in the dark, helping you let the day go. Now, as we settle into the close of our journey, take one slow, easy breath in. And let it out slowly, like the final long sigh of a peaceful song. Notice how the bed is still here, holding you. Notice how the room is still here, gathering softly around you. Notice how your body is still here, breathing without your help, beating without your help, doing all the quiet, small work of keeping you alive while you do nothing more strenuous than listening. If your eyes are closed, lovely. Let them stay closed. If they are still open, let them grow heavy in their own time with no effort at all. Let the muscles of your face soften around the eyes, around the mouth, around the jaw. Let the small spaces between your eyebrows soften. Let your shoulders soften, one final time, dropping just a touch lower into the bed. Let your hands rest, palms open or closed, however they want to be. You're doing so well. You really are. The fact that you stayed with this voice through such a long, slow journey is its own kind of gentle accomplishment. And yet there is nothing you have to be proud of, nothing to claim, nothing to do with it. It is simply enough that you allowed yourself this kindness, that you let yourself be carried, that you let yourself settle, that you let yourself soften. If at any point during this video you found a small moment of comfort, a small breath of wonder, a small drift towards sleep, then everything has gone exactly as it was meant to. And if a soft like, a quiet subscribe, or a kind comment feels easy in the morning, that would be such a gentle help, sharing this small corner of the night with others who, like you, prefer falling asleep to wonder. But please, only if it feels easy. There is nothing to do tonight that asks effort of you. Imagine now, one final time, all the music of the world, slowly hushing, slowly drawing in, like a great gentle tide pulling back from the shore. The lullabies are folding their wings, the choirs are settling into stillness, the drums have softened to nothing. The wind through the bamboo flutes has thinned to a single quiet breath, then to silence. The whales below the sea are listening rather than singing. The bells in the distant towers are still. The strings of every guitar and piano in every quiet house are at rest, untouched, simply holding their pitch in patient stillness. And in this great soft hush, your own breath remains slow and steady, the only quiet music left in your room. In gently, out gently, like a small, faithful song that does not need any audience, that does not need to be remembered, that does not need to be anything other than what it is. Whatever happens after this voice fades, let it be soft. If you drift into sleep, lovely. If you simply lie there in warm, sleepy stillness for a while, that is wonderful too. If your mind wanders into dreams, may they be friendly ones, gentle ones, full of small, soft melodies and quiet, kind images. You are safe. You are warm. You are loved by more of this world than you might realize, by the soft gravity of the bed beneath you, by the patient air around you, by the steady beat of your own faithful heart, by the long, kind history of every song that has ever soothed a tired human in the dark. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for letting this voice walk with you a little way through the world of music and sound. Thank you for letting yourself rest, even for these few quiet moments. Sleep gently now, friend. Let the night carry you. Let the silence become its own slow music. Let your breath be the last note, and let everything else simply, softly fall still. Good night.